Welcome back, guys. Today I want to talk about getting your best shots with your Lumix G85. Now, as most of you know, I am a Canon guy, and I've always been a Canon guy for 40 years. But Lumix, they're just kind of a neat little camera. This is a micro 4/3 camera. This Lumix G85 is mostly known for the video, but don't underrate the photography abilities of this camera. It's 16 megapixels, and it just has great color science in this camera. So I just want to go over to get better pictures with your Panasonic Lumix G85. The first thing about the Panasonic, and you'll hear this about a lot of Lumix cameras, is their focusing is not quite what Canon and Sony is. I believe they use something called depth of defocus, some odd term they throw around for focusing. So if you're shooting pictures with your Lumix, now I've got the battery grip on here, so I've got 2 batteries, so that when I'm at an event, I don't have to worry about changing batteries as often, keep it going. But when you're shooting an event, you want to use the tap focus on the back to make sure that your subject is in focus. That way you don't have to worry about it, you're good to go, and you can just shoot away. Second thing is, with the micro 4/3, you want to avoid shooting in too low of a light. You don't want your ISO to go too high because it's a small sensor and it won't shoot in low light like a Canon R6 or a full frame sensor will. So if you can help it, keep it at 800 or lower. If you have to go to 1600, you can. And if you're getting too big of a problem, you can always use topaz to bring some of that grain out. But just for the sake of easiness, try to keep it as low as you can. You don't have to stay at 100, but just try to keep it fairly low. And the lens I have on here is the 12 to 35, which on a micro 4/3 is the equivalent of a 24 to 70, and this is f2.8. So this is the lens I use most of the time. Now I do have other lenses. I have a 85 millimeter 1.7. I have it's actually called 42.5, but the equivalent is 85. And then I have the 25 1.7, which is the equivalent of the 50, and it's also a 1.7. This is a great little sharp lens. And then I've got another lens. It's not really a pro lens. I just kind of use it for fun on vacation. It's 45 to 150, which makes it a 90 to 300 millimeter zoom. That's a heck of a zoom, especially a little lightweight. This thing weighs almost nothing. Now, I got into using the Lumix G85s for the video because that's pretty much what they're known for. But as I get older, it's harder and harder to shoot large weddings. By the time I get to the reception, I am really getting tired. So I'll take my Canon R6, set it down, grab my Lumix G85, put the flash on top or use an off-camera flash, whatever the event calls for. And this thing weighs maybe a fifth of what that Canon R6 weighs. The lenses are light, the bodies are light, it's small, it fits in your hand. And it does great pictures. I mean, don't sell it short. 16 megapixels is plenty. You can do 16 by 20s, 30 by 40s. If you get your exposure right, you're not really limited to what size you can print from these cameras. Now, you will want to, if you're outside or so and you're not using a flash, or maybe whatever reason you're not using a flash, if you're shooting a bride up against a window or you got some available light coming in, use your spot focus. Don't use general overall focus, because if you're photographing a bride, you pretty much care about what her skin color looks like. You don't want the entire room. You don't want an exposure of what the entire room looks like. You want the exposure of what your bride's skin is going to look like. So use your spot meter. Also use your spot focus. I mentioned that earlier about the focusing. It's important to stay on top. They're not the greatest. It's mostly a video problem because it will go in and out looking for you, sometime hunting. But for photography, just touch the face of who you want it to be in focus and it'll focus. It's no problems. It's just not as fast as, say, a Canon R6 or some of the Sony cameras. But it will get the job done, and it will get the job done with a lot less weight being carried around. Also, one very important thing is shoot in RAW. No matter what camera I'm shooting with, I'm shooting in RAW, because there's no sense, if you're getting paid for an event, you want to shoot the best quality that you possibly can. So always shoot in RAW, and that gives you a lot more leeway to go back and fix your pictures. So to go over that again, tap focus, that's number 1. Number 2, try to avoid high ISOs. Number 3, use your spot meter for your metering through the camera. Number 4, shoot in RAW. Don't confuse spot focus with spot meter. Spot meter is going to give you the metering of just that exact spot. Spot focus is going to focus on that exact spot. So don't get those two confused. I know they sound similar. But with that said, this is a great camera to shoot receptions. You know, when you're shooting a wedding, most of the pictures you're going to be selling large sizes of are done before the reception. By the time you get to the reception, it's mostly cake cutting and people dancing, that sort of thing. And this is more than enough to cover that. So I love this little G85. I use it at receptions, and every time I pick it up, I go, wow, what a camera. It is really a lot of bang for your buck. And y'all have heard me in a lot of videos say the term bang for your buck, and that's what I'm all about. I want bang for my buck. And this camera definitely delivers. Now, another thing about this camera, you can get one for about $350 from MPB or KEH. Now, not with the battery grip, not with the lens, but you can get the body for about $350. The lenses, you know, vary with any camera. The nicer the lens, the more you're going to pay for it. But you can still find them cheaper, especially than the Canon RF lenses, which are highly priced. You can get these lenses at good deals. You're not going to be paying anything near like you would for a Canon RF lenses. And I find that most everything is even cheaper than the Canon EF lenses. So with that said, I highly recommend using this at events such as receptions at weddings. Now, would I shoot an entire wedding with it? Not if I could help it. I wouldn't want to, because you know, on a wedding day, you want the highest quality you can get. That's why I go in with the full frame Canon R6, usually 24 to 72.8 lens, whatever the case may be. But by the time you get to the reception, dancing shots, cake cutting shots, this is absolutely more than you need. So hey, if we're helping you guys out, hit that like button. And if you have any questions, send me an email down at the bottom. And if we're helping you guys out, hit subscribe. Y'all have a good day.